Hi quilters, it's Stacy with Sew Steady, and we are so excited to be hosting our first week of our holiday gift guide, and that includes 6 weeks of deals and giveaways. This week we're kicking it off in our big way with one of our most loved Sew Steady accessories, which is our 2-arm suspension system. It comes in a cute little box like this, but you're getting 2 big arms like you see right here to be able to add to help you and give you
This is the
support in
design.
your sewing room. That's right, that's buy one, get one deal on the 2-arm suspension system, which equates to 4 arms in your sewing room. This is such an awesome tool for being able to do free motion quilting, ruler work, and everything else that you might want, including mending your dog beds or even embroidery. It's awesome for doing quilting with embroidery. This little clamp that you see right here clips onto your extension table, your counters, your tables. It's got 3 inches of gripping space with rubber grippers to protect whatever you're gripping to. Then you clamp it really easily to your extension table and etc. to be able to secure that arm. Once you do that, you're able to go ahead and clip your project right onto the arm. I like to keep a loop in mind to be able to keep it extra secure. It helps with the weight a little bit, but this is awesome for doing all of the things that I mentioned, including even binding your projects if you're a quilter. So how does it work? Earn bonus giveaways when you sign up, and every time you sign up you're able to go ahead and enter for each of the week's drawings. Make sure to like, comment, and share for bonus entries, and if you choose to purchase the deal, you get one more bonus entry. Whether you're purchasing from one of our dealers or one of our popular resellers online, take advantage of that opportunity. Every week we're going to ask you to tune in for our next week's deals, and you're going to find out who won the deal of the week last week. So please join us as we celebrate our 6 weeks of holiday deals and our gift guide, and make sure to tune in for your
Hi everyone, it's Stacy with Sew Steady. Sorry, we're getting started a little late today, but I do have this amazing class for you in store. So we're going to be watching Pam Varner. She is going to be quilting her butterfly bed runner class, which is a Pinwheel Spark class in the Pinwheel Spark book, which is found in your Elevate Club box. So if you're an Elevate Club member, you've got the instructions on how to make this gorgeous block. If you are interested in doing the full project, then that is something that you can purchase separately. We're going to be highlighting today how to quilt this project. So I will go ahead and post a link to be able to allow you to purchase the piecing instructions too if you'd like to go ahead and create this. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and enjoy Pam doing some ruler quilting and finishing this quilt project for you as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have Pam take it away.
This is the design that we are going to put in all of the blue diamond shapes, which is made up of these 2 triangles. I know this is really hard to see. It's blue thread on blue fabric, but I wanted it to have texture and not a design that jumped out at you. So I'm hoping that you can see that. And I know this light is in the way. Let's move that a little bit, and hopefully you can see that design. Basically what it is it is 4 diamonds that are a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and an inch away from the edge. Now, because it is so hard to see the stitching, it requires me to do some markings. If you want to do this on maybe a lighter fabric, you may not have the problem seeing the thread as much as I have. So it's something you're just going to have to experiment with. And when you see me stitch it out, you'll understand what I mean by why you want these markings and how you can get away without using them. So we're going to start by using our 12-inch arc, and we're going down on the 3rd line. So that's a 1/4, a 1/4, and a 1/4. That's 3/4 away from the edge of the seam line. And we're going to draw a line right on Make sure that you get it where the two fabrics intersect, okay? Then we're going to come down and do one at 3/4, and we're going to come down and do one at 1/4 or a half. So this is a half, a quarter, a half, and 3/4. Sorry, don't want to get you confused. This is where we're going to start the design. Then over here, because we're going to stitch here, we need those same markings because we need to know where to stop when we can't see the stitches. Now, you could try a magnifying mirror. You could try different lighting. It's just almost impossible to see it on camera. So then I'm going to stitch in this direction. Same thing. I want the same 3 lines. 3/4 of an inch, a half, and a 1/4 inch from the edge. And as you can see, it's really hard to get a nice thin line so that you know exactly where you're supposed to be. And if it's not perfect, it's okay because again, you've got matching thread. So, and then here, come down, here, come down, and here. And the only other line that I found helpful was to have one that is another 1/4 of an inch inside here. So I know where to come up to. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to pull our thread where this white line, the 1/4 inch from this seam, intersects this seam in the middle here. We're going to stitch until we get our foot to the edge, so we're a 1/4 inch away from this seam line. Then we're going to switch directions. Again, we're going to stitch till we're a 1/4 inch from this seam line, and so we've got a diagonal or a diamond that is stitched out a 1/4 inch away from the edge. Then we're going to move up in the ditch here until we get to this line, and now we're stitching a 1/2 inch away, but a 1/4 inch away from this. So when I stitch down here, you can't see, I'm sorry. When I stitch down this direction, I can't see my stitches, so I don't know where to stop, but I can see the white line, so I do know where to stop. Okay, so if you couldn't see me mark this, these lines are a 1/4 inch apart, a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, and 3/4 of an inch on all sides. We're going to start over here. So let's get started. I'm pulling my thread up on the intersection here of the white line and this seam line. I'm going to take a couple of stitches, making sure I'm grabbing onto both of them. I took 3 stitches. Now, I'm putting my edge of my template on this seam line. That's giving me a 1/4 inch away. I'm going to stop when my foot reaches this seam line down here. So. I'm switching directions. Every time I switch directions, I want to take a stitch in place. It just makes a really sharp point when you switch directions. And now I like to have my fabric, my diamond, kind of in this orientation, kind of a more horizontal than vertical. It's just easier for me to see all of the sides of it. Okay, now I'm going to stitch up to here. I'm going to stitch over to where we started. Now I'm going to stitch in the ditch. You can get out your 1/4 inch spacing gauge to make sure that you're stitching right in the ditch there. And I'm going up to that next marked line. And now I'm using the 1/4 inch reference line on my template, and I'm lining that up with my seam line. I can see down here, I can see this white line. I want to stop with my foot on that white line because I've already stitched on that line, so I don't want to stitch up to that. All I'm going for here is texture. And you can try and do this without marking. Oh, this is going to be fun because my marking doesn't come down very far. Oh, but I can see right in here and I can see where those seams intersect, so I'm okay. Was off a stitch. That's what's great about using the same colored thread when it's dark like this. When you're off, it doesn't show up. See, now this angle I can see there, but I can also see the second line, and that's where I'm going to stop. And then this is going to take me back to the beginning of my second round. I'm going to stitch up here. I need to go a couple more stitches. And now I'm using the second reference line. So 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. I'm now stitching 3/4 of an inch away. From the edge all the way around. Oops, my hand is in the way. Oh, kind of can't stitch when your hand's there. So here we go. And now I'm stitching up to that next mark that I made. And now I'm stitching until my foot touches this white line. It went too far. There we go. The foot this time. It's easy when you get to the seam here, if you can see the seam line. Sometimes these two blues are so close together, it's hard to see the seam line. We're now up to where we started. And I'm just going to go in the seam, come back to lock my stitches, and then I pull from here. I'm going to pull up the bobbin thread. That way I won't have a mess underneath. Cut my top thread. There's a loop and a thread coming from the bobbin. So you want to cut that. As long as you've locked your threads, you can do that when you pull up your bobbin, or you can bury it if you want to. That's up to you. And now I'm going to bury the beginning. And I'm going to repeat this in all of the diamonds in all 3 blocks. So we're going to do that 12 times total. The next template I'm going to use is the 3.5-inch wreath with Echo 2, and it has a pin in it. This template has 2 shapes on it. We have the wreath up here, and we have a 5.5-inch strand of pearls down here. So just make sure that you're using the correct pinhole. You want to use the very first one that comes directly down. You don't want to use the second pinhole. That's for the strand of pearls. Okay? So we're going to pull our thread at A. We're going to stitch down to B. We're going to rotate the template. Our needle is now going to be at B1. We're going to stitch to B1, back to A. We're going to rotate the template. Our needle is now going to be at A1. We're going to stitch back to A and then around back to B and repeat. So I have marked 16 crosshair squares, or 16 reference lines with my crosshair square, and I've put a pin in the middle. So we're going to move the pin covering and we're going to place it right like that. So I've marked with a Sew Line Styla waterproof or water removable pen, and I'm going to, on this template there's lines. I didn't show you that. On this template there is a line up here, and this is the center of the wreath. There's also marks here that you can put on top of your previously stitched stitches as you rotate around. So you have your line up here, a line down here, and these curves to help you line everything up. So let's get this on here, and I'm going to pick a line, and let's see, let's go over here, and I'm going to pull at A. You could pull at B. I pull at A. Now, when I drop my foot, especially if you have an automatic foot dropper and you're not doing it by a lever in the back, I move away from where I want the foot to land so that it doesn't inadvertently land on top of the template. That would not make me happy. So make sure my line's on my reference line, and it is. I'm going to take a couple of stitches holding my threads. That locks them in place, and now things are going to stay nice and tidy, and I'm going to stitch around to B. See how easy that was? And now we're going to rotate the template, but I want to get these threads out of my way, so I'm putting them under the template. And I just took the template off the pin, so we're going to have to put that back. There we go. I got one thread under the template. It's usually not that complicated. And now we'll put the pin back on, rotate the template until this line up here is on my reference line on my fabric. And I can see that the line here is on top of my previously stitched stitches, and I'm in line, my needle's in line with B1. So stitch to B and back up to A. Rotate the template to the next reference line And I should be on it. And now stitch to A and back down to B. This is a really fun template. And then I'm going to rotate my template. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to rotate this a few times just so you can see what I'm doing. So I just completed this one. I'm turning my template and you can see my reference lines, hopefully you can see them, are right on top of my stitching. So I'm in good shape. Stitch to B and come up. Rotate the template, stitch to A, and go back to B. Rotate the template, stitch to B, and come back up to A. Rotate the template. Kind of hard here to see, but there we go. And now I'm going to stitch to A, come back down, stitch to B, rotate the template. You can see real good right there. And there we are. Okay. Rotate my template. Make sure that whatever is underneath doesn't get underneath your flat area here and that this is all smooth. Otherwise, you're going to stitch on top of your quilt and it's going to make a mess. So we're going to stitch to A, come back down to B, rotate the template. This white fabric is challenging to stitch on. But there we go. Stitch to A and back down to B. Rotate my template, stitch to B, back up to A. You can try and do this template without making crosshair squares and just using the reference lines on your template with the where you've stitched. I have a really hard time with wreaths. I tend to maybe push things too hard, but I just have much better luck with wreaths if I draw reference lines. And I have the tools, so I might as well use them. Now we're at the very last one. Stitch to B, up to A, and we're all set. So I'm going to pull my threads here and I'm going to bury them. Get my template out of the way, cover that up so I don't hurt myself. There we go. And let's see what we got going on here. And I'm going to pull this long enough. I do want to bury these and not just snip them. Oh, there's our wreath. And we're going to take off the marks. I want to show you how easy those marks come off. This is a Soline eraser, and it has a solution in it that's water and I don't know, some magic thing. And it just, you squeeze the water into this nib here and it just goes right on and takes the marks right off. I always test to make sure it's going to come off of my fabric, but that's how easy it is to take the marks off. I like to remove my marks as soon as I'm done stitching so that I don't forget about them. I don't want to iron these. I've ironed them in the past and had them come out, so I'm not super concerned about that, but I just don't want to take a chance. If you know you're going to wash your quilt as soon as it's done, there's other products that you can use. Or use your favorite marking. This is my favorite marking for light, like white and yellow, pale pink, anything that the white chalk doesn't show up on. I like to use Pounce, Ultimate Pounce. That's my favorite. See, I think I need a little more. So you just squeeze it and it brings the solution down into the nib. So that's how easy it is to take the markings out. And there's our wreath. And we're going to do that in between the blocks. There's two sections that we're going to put that wreath in. For this design, we're going to use spinning ribbon number 2. You have this shape here that you can stitch like a Spinifex and rotate around like a Spinifex, and that gives you a 5.5-inch design. You can use this pinhole here and correspond with this side of the template here with these, and you have your 8-point marking, your 12-point marking, and your 16-point markings, and that gives you a 7.5-inch design. If you use the pinhole down here and this side of this curve here with your 8-point, your 12, and your 16, you're going to get a 9.5-inch design. So the way this template works is we are going to put it on the pinhole at the 9.5. We're going to pull our thread on this reference line. We're going to stitch to the right side of the motif, back down to the left side, and then you float a stitch or two, come down here, and land on this reference line. You can also see that the arrow there is for the 16 points. You then rotate your template. Your needle is here. You're going to stitch up and back down. Now, the reason you want to stitch on the right-hand side first instead of the left-hand side is if you stitch on the left-hand side first, you're going to come up, you're going to come down. These stitches may not meet your left and right side because you're going to come down here and then go across this way. So by stitching the right side first and then the left side, you're guaranteed that your stitches are going to cross and it's going to complete this motif. Get that one stitched. Again, you're going to end up here. Rotate the template, and you're going to go all the way around until your design is complete. So let's see this template in action. This is the wreath that we did earlier. Coming directly down from the wreath in between the two stars is this large empty space. And this is where I've marked 16 crosshairs, but I can only do 9 of them, right? Because then down here we have, oh, you can't see. Let me back up a little bit. Down here we have no room to quilt anything because it's the edge of the quilt. So we're just going to quilt in this area here. Okay, so let's uncover the pin. And we are going to start. Let's put the pin on there. And I'm using the line, the seam line between the border and the inside of the quilt as my first reference line. There's a line up here at the top. I'm lining that up on the reference line. I'm going to pull my thread right here on this seam line. Got too many things in my hand. I had to get them out. On this very first one, oops, I may have to get my tweezers, which I don't know where they went. Let's see. Make sure I tug on my bobbin thread. I try not to lower my foot onto my template. That's why I dropped my foot over here and moved that way. Oh, if you're interested, this is a dental instrument with a rubber tip on it, and it like grabs thread. It's really nice when you don't have, when your fingers can't get a hold of them. Again, I want to make sure everything is flat behind me, and here we go. We are going to stitch. Well, I guess I could have pulled at the point. And now I'm going to stitch back. So this part right here is going to be double stitched. And now I'm going to rotate my template until I can see this line right here in the center is on my next reference line. And then I'm going to travel on the right hand side here. There's two sides you can travel, up here or up here. I'm going to travel on this side. This side has the markings for the 9.5 inch size, and this side has the markings for the 7. So I'm actually kind of going backwards, but that's okay. There, I stitched to the blue line. And now I'm going to go up here. Come back down. And I want to meet those stitches. And since I'm going backwards, which was not my intention, I want to make sure that my stitches cross. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stitch over to the line, the reference line, and then go up on the left side instead of the right. If I was going the other direction, and there, now I've crossed. And by crossing, I've crossed these stitches at the bottom of the design, so there's not an opening. There we go. And now put my template on the next reference line. There's a little bit of a float there. Floating means that you're stitching without a template to guide you. Kind of winging it. And now I'm moving my template so that this line and this line up here are on the reference line. I'm going to stitch over here and then come up. Rotate my templates, line up my reference lines on the quilt with the ones on my template. Rotate the template. We have a couple more to go. I had to rearrange my hands, and when I do that, I always try and stop. I don't ever want to move my hands while I'm quilting. I'm not that talented, where I can move my hands. If I'm going to end up moving the template by mistake. And now on this one, we're going to stay on this side of the template. And we are going to double stitch this. And the reason we're going to do that is because we double stitched it on the other side. And now I can lock my stitches, take this out, cover up the pin so I don't hurt myself. There we go. So there is that design. I'm going to stitch out another one for you, just look at, to watch me do that. So you can see me go the other direction. We're doing the exact same design, only this time I'm going to rotate clockwise instead of counterclockwise. And we're going to put it on the pin. Again, we're doing a 9.5 inch size, even though we're only doing half of it. And I'm going to pull the thread over here so you can see how you can do that instead of starting in the middle. So we're just going to take our thread, put it up against the template here, the foot. Move out of the way. Lower the foot. Take a couple of stitches. And now we're going to stitch here. We're going to come in here. We're going to go down here. We're going to stitch into our next reference line. So I just want it, oops, I have to go like this to get that out. I just want to show you kind of up close these lines on this template that we have here. So you have 16-point rotation, 12-point rotation, and 8-point rotation. So when you, after you're done stitching your motif, you come down here, we're doing 16 points. So I want to stop on this arrow. This arrow is also on my reference line. So you could do it without reference lines if you wanted to. You could try that. Remember, I'm not the best when it comes to wreath designs and not using reference lines. Some people are good at them. I'm not one of those people. I prefer to use my reference lines. Okay, so here we are. We have come from this direction. So what I want to do is I want to stitch around this side. And then when I come down, It just completes that shape. So right here, my stitches cross. If I had come up on the left side and come down on the right side, I could have had a little opening there, and I don't want an opening. So that's why I stitch the way that I do. Stitch away from the direction that you came from. There's my next reference line. I'm just double checking that I'm lined up properly. I can look down here too. I have a line that goes down here. That helps me. Didn't quite go far enough. There. Move the template. One more. There we go. And here I'm going to stop on the seam line, and then I'm going to go on this side, and I'm going to stop when I get to the seam line. So we started on the seam line over here on the left, on the opposite side of where I'm at, and definitely don't want blood on this white fabric. That's why I covered the pin. There we go. There's our second one. And we're going to do this in all of those same areas. I've got this long ruler, and it has a line on it right here. I don't know, maybe you can see it against the blue fabric. There you go. I'm going to line that up on my border over here. And then I'm going to line this up with the center of this star right here. So that's going to give me a straight line. And I'm just going to mark, to begin with, right along here. That's the center of my design. And I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side so that I can get center. I don't need a large mark over here, just a little tick mark. And there, that looks like center. There we go. I'm going to take my 8-point mini crosshair square and mark this. I already have my center line. I'm lining this horizontal up with this seam here. Okay, and that's right there. And I mark, oops, move over a little bit. I mark the blue fabric with my white chalk. And I'm going to mark my white fabric with my blue water-soluble pen. And then rotate the template, put the reference lines on the crosshair square on the lines that you've marked so you can get 8 more markings. Let's see, yeah, there we go. Is that right? Yep. Again, blue marks on the white fabric and white chalk on the blue fabric. I always count when I'm done to make sure that I have 16. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is for a wreath on the straightaway. Okay, I'm going to do that in a couple of places. And then I'm going to do this here and then across on the other side. And then down at the ends of our runner here, we have this odd shape. We're going to line up our template, our crosshair square, so that the diagonal and the horizontal line up as best we can. It's not perfect. And let's see, move that so this is centered. Okay. And then turn it again so that everything is lined up. So there's that. Again, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Perfect. I'm going to do that on the 4 areas where there's the cut like that. 2 on each ends. And then we have the point at the very tip. This we're going to line up on the seam lines as much as possible. Again, chalk on the white. No, that's not centered. You want the intersection of the border and the quilt to be right in the center here. And I didn't have that in the center. Let's see. There we go. Across that way, get out the blue pen, go here, I only need one there, rotate the template, go across that way, go across that way, go down there, and there, the blue up here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. The reason I count is because there are times where I've made a mistake and I've only done 15 lines, and then you're stuck when you're trying to do this. So now we're going to put the pin in, and we're going to make the 3.5 inch wreath. So we did this wreath in the center, so it's the same thing. Get the pin in. There we go. So remember, the template looks like this, and it has the markings on it. It has these markings on it to line up, and then this is our center. Start at A, stitch to B, rotate the template, go back to B and up to A, rotate the template, go back to A, and down to B. Okay, so remember to use the pinhole that's the closest. And let's get started. I am going to quilt some equilateral triangles in my border in between the wreaths. Now, I realize I should have stopped a 1/4 inch from the edge of the quilt, but I didn't. So I'm going to continue that throughout the whole border so it looks even. My binding is going to cut off down here, and there'll be a little space, but they'll still be equilateral triangles. I think it'll look fine. So what I'm going to do is I measured, well, I'm using the quilt to find the center between the two wreaths. And I'm going to quilt as many as I can, going one direction and then the other. So I'm actually pulling outside of my border. And I'm just going to take a couple of locking stitches and then come up right on the edge. I'm using the Sarah Diddy channel straight ruler, and I have marked the lines that are 60 degrees. So I'm going to place these lines right here, this line right here, on the top of my border. And let's see. There we go. And I'm going to stitch up to the top. So you can see how this ruler is aligned, like that. Then I'm going to turn it this way and take the other line that I've just put a little mark on, come back down. You could draw this out if you wanted to. I just thought this was really easy. And then I'm going to stitch up. And I'm going to come back down. Now I can also take this line that I just used and put it on what I just stitched, and I'm going to get the same angle. And now I don't have anywhere else to go, or I'm going to run into the wreath. If it's a short enough distance, I'm just going to travel out here. Again, that's not going to work, so I have to put it on this line. Going to my left, up on the top of the border, stitch up. And come back down. I'm putting it at what I just stitched. And I have room for one more. I just stitch until I run out of room. You have to be careful if you come up, you don't want to come up into the wreath. And then I'm going to just come out here and lock it and cut my stitches with my machine because that's all going to be cut off. Okay, let's move and do the next section. Now here, in between these two wreaths, this, and make a little mark down here, and that's my center. I could measure it out and start on one and go all the way up, but I just found this to be quicker. So here I'm going to have to pull a couple of times because this may be too long of a distance to travel. Okay, make sure that your border is smooth when you come up here. Oops. And there we go. Okay. Let's go to left first. Put that up there. Stitch up. Come back down. Put that line on. I can tell by looking here where my next one's going to end up, so it's going to be perfect. Let's just hope this holds for the entire border. That would be really nice. You could do 45-degree angles. I chose the 60-degree because that was the shape of the triangles in the blocks. So that's why I chose the 60-degree. But you very easily could do 45-degree ones. Come out here and cut that. You could have traveled along here too if you wanted. I don't know, 3 just seemed a little excessive to me, so that's why I didn't do that. And I'm just going to continue this on the entire border. That was off a little, but it was fine. So we're just going to keep going and do this all the way around until we're done.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining today. We look forward to having you go on and take the full class on our So Study University. That should be live here in the next few days. So if you are interested in creating this full project, stay tuned for accessing that full class on the So Study University. Again, that's the Butterfly Bed Runner by Pam Varner. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to having you see us tomorrow for the Shauna and Rendon ruler work class using feathers. That was a date change. We apologize. That is going to be happening now tomorrow at 10 a.m. So thank you all so much and have a